Well, I would agree with that statement. First of all, I think if you just forget the word cloud and just purely follow the MORAC, the ANSI, or the ISO standards, the interface is right, the procedure is right, and it all works. So, you know, then whether it's a cloud or not, whether it's an internal cloud or an external cloud. A lot of times you have even professional BPOs, like you boxed it, for example, Iron Mountain, many others we call it, that have all the bells and whistles in their data centers and procedures guaranteed that are much safer than many of internal, even in large companies, the procedures that large enterprises apply. You're very experienced. What I think will come with the cloud in the future is two approaches of a company, like a hybrid where, say, larger companies at least, they would go for outsourcing and for having their own cloud as well. And it's probably the type of industry you are in. There's some very regulated industries, such as financial, pharmaceuticals, that face very stiff tests regarding compliance and governance. Most of them, they have they're already compliant and they may outsource as well. At the same time, we see a lot of other companies that have like a wait-and-see attitude because our lawmakers cannot keep up at the moment with as fast as the technology is changing. This means also a lot of companies are waiting. What is the court going to say? When are the first court cases? But I think we have already for a while some early adopters, and there haven't been a lot of court cases, almost none, at least not in Europe, which shows actually you can trust. It doesn't matter whether it's internally or externally. And I think if you want to put something external in the cloud, you have to make a nice analysis of your risk regarding litigation, business requirements needs for litigation or compliance. And let's say, for example, documents that you need to keep that have long retention times, probably you keep it in your internal cloud, or if they are at risk for litigation or compliance issues. Unless you have documents on the other hand that are for collaboration within teams, then it's perfect for the cloud, even external. Well, first, I think the general advantages that cloud brings to everybody, which is typically you're totally independent of the hardware as well as of the software. You can use the internet from any PC, you can say. That makes it even me. I use a Macintosh on one side or a MacBook, and in the other side I'm using a Windows-based laptop as well. And it doesn't matter in that case. I don't have to install software. But at the same time, reduce cost and companies can reconcentrate on their core business, especially in these economical times. So these are general things that's not specific to our industry. I think specific to our industry, what you see is, you mentioned it before, Harvey, and this morning as well, a lot of end users today, when they do ad hoc scanning, it's really scanning small quantity of images, a little bit of indexing, put it in an email, attach it, and send it somewhere. Now, if you have a cloud, you have actually an access to advanced data capture, which is linked directly to an automated business process management, where it allows companies now to automate more business processes that are document-driven. So, and this is, we spoke about enterprise capture, and I think in that sense, cloud is perfect for enterprise capture because whether they host it internal or external, once a document enters, even in a subsidiary or in a sales office in the field, it's scanned and it goes down. It's loaded in. It's put into a shared folder and uploaded directly in cloud for further processing. I think also we heard this morning that mobile capture, where you take a smartphone, for example, camera, and take a picture of a document, that those applications in the future will run perfectly with the cloud. Why? Because all these young people that do it with Facebook every day, they have flat rates for internet, 3G, UMTS here in Europe, it goes very fast. And you now can, I'm an insurance expert, as you mentioned this morning, I take a claims form, I make a camera photo, and I put it directly into the cloud for further processing. Meanwhile, I'm still, with my customer, I may even get a message back from the cloud, so it's not only input, it's also feedback. Sorry, but this form is not completely filled in. Please attach some more documents or check with the customer and so on. So it makes his time much more efficient as an end user. I also think that especially for you, the BPOs, you benefit. I would say almost the biggest partners that use from the cloud, because you don't put papers only in the box anymore. You really help companies streamlining all their business processes now. It has not been discussed yet. Again, we heard this morning who uses MFPs for scanning and so on. It's the whole availability of thousands of MFPs and networked scanners that are just used a little bit for scanning. And now companies all of a sudden can use it cloud for really enterprise capture, and then the last point, scan the documents directly into process. I think that for me is the biggest advantage. Whether I'm sitting at home with my MFP or I'm in the office, it doesn't matter. They have in the US, in California, a provider of text which prepares tax declarations. And actually you can now download this for your iPhone directly from their website. And this is only about one specific document. And the whole image processing is already done on your iPhone. And the extraction and recognition is all done in your iPhone directly, so that when it goes off to the cloud, it's already in a relative quality because you can validate it. Yeah, I think these ones you
very
actually,
fixed.
Yeah, you can see more and more. Especially it allows these providers to get in touch with all this generation. You know, the iPads, iPhones, and young people typically. I would come more from. If I'm a system integrator, and most of you are solution providers somehow, or system integrators in the capture environment. And I think there's so much reorientation at the moment anyway going on, because a lot of capture vendors have been bought by infrastructure vendors or by content management vendors, and the capture vendors that are still left over are solution providers more and more, with a direct sales model being a competitor. So you're kind of forced to reorientate. Do I sell in infrastructure, or where is my sweet spot? Somewhere in the verticals. And then in addition, there's this cloud coming. For the last 30 years, we have sold software and hardware. The hardware was shrinking. The same is happening now on the software side. So there's the services. Is the cloud good for me or not? And a lot of, I've been in the last 12 months, been a lot of conferences, and I've been asking people, actually, who of you in the next has already is offering or is going to offer cloud in the next 3 years? And I think there were big differences within Europe. In the UK, it was the most advanced, and then I think it was the Benelux, and then nothing, and then maybe Germany and Italy, Spain was far at the end. I see that if I look back, again, we have had a lot of hype in this industry already, and I was at AIM, an American market which is more advanced in cloud officially. We had Spring CM and all these companies. They were not even at the AIM show anymore. And I see that a lot of companies that went on a pure cloud model as a delivery have failed. And I think the next 2 years, don't do that. Go for a hybrid model. Continue to sell, because the customer will have a very slow adoption, especially here in Europe. But when you maximize your time when your salespeople are out, what you said, that when your customer chooses, that you can offer. I think the big issue is the pricing models that you choose for. The second issue is the vendor that you choose for. Yeah? There will be several vendors, even in capture, that will have a cloud model. And the next question is, am I going to host it myself for a large project? Is the end user in his shared service center going to host it themselves? Or is the vendor hosting it, and then he may be also a competition? What's my, make a diligent analysis, because this is still ground which is not explored, and you can go too fast, maybe you are too slow. So I think that's the whole issue, and there's no yes or no answer. What's the right answer to this? I would probably say, not being Fujitsu, that I could, it's a little bit what we said already twice. You will see more enterprise capture. That means more in the ad hoc space enterprise. An ad hoc scanner, which today is just doing pure capture for indexing, and that's it. This now would mean really business process enablement, yeah, more intelligence in the whole process, and it's recognized by the companies. It needs to be done, and a lot of scanners by the end will create a big volume altogether that goes into the cloud. I think first of all, the US is a big domestic market, so in general, it's the most technology advanced market. I think in Europe, our big drawback today is emotional culture, I call it. I think the big drawback for somebody like your organization, if you want to have one data center and serve the rest of Europe out of one data center, I would say a French doesn't want his data to be in UK. I can sell off on the legal side, at least for most cases, but not on the emotional side. Like a German doesn't want to have it in Bulgaria or in Portugal and so on and so on. I think then the other issue is the European Union has been created to secure free traffic for people, goods and services, but at least in the governmental sector, the public sector, not for data. To give you an example, a German, because we have a lot of local laws and local regulation that is preventing any good, quick evolution like in the US market. We have a lot of 20 domestic markets. The German government, for example, doesn't allow any of its data to be hosted outside Germany because they are paranoid again that there could be an abuse by cyber criminals and then they have to fight in court against them in another country than theirs in another language. Yeah? Okay. And that's the whole point, I think.